Hi, it's Warren Huart here. Hope you're doing marvellously well. Today we're going to do another in our How to Arrange series, which of course is more than that. It's going through checking out the mix, the production, all that kind of fun stuff. This one is another song that was recorded at Sunset Sound with Kenny Airnoff on drums, with an artist called Roni Lee. Now, when we came to mix, the artist wanted a completely different drum sound to the one that we actually recorded. So you're going to see how you can change, like even a live drum sound and add different samples, etc., and create a different drum sound entirely from the one that was recorded in the room with Kenny. This is what happens sometimes. Sometimes you send your work off to another mixer and they may preserve your drum sound or they may change it completely. So in this instance, we did quite a lot of drastic work to change the live drum sound and make it a little bit more aggressive and in a different way, because Kenny's performance was fantastic, but she wanted a different kind of drum sound to the one we recorded. So this is going to be a lesson in how to manipulate drums. So let's get started. This is a song I wrote with a friend of mine a few years ago, my friend Buck Johnson, who actually plays keyboards for Aerosmith, and he and I wrote this song quite a few years ago, and Ronnie loved it, so we covered it. So here it is. As ever, please subscribe, go to producelikeapro.com and sign up for the email list, and you'll get a bunch of exclusive stuff, and we're launching a premium channel soon, so you'll get to hear about that. Okay, let's check it out. Okay, great. So let's check something out here. This is the live drums. So we'll solo these and have a listen. So it's a good live drum sound. Just put it to wave view. Kenny's very aggressive and played really, really well. But what we added was some addictive sounds. On the kick, just to give it a little bit more beef, make it a little tiny bit more modern. And then on the same thing on the addictive on the snares. And that was a big one. So we got really aggressive on it. Now, there's some real ring on that. There's a lot of, it's really, really super aggressive, but she wanted the snare super in your face, and that's where we ended up. So there's a combination of quite a few things going on there. As you can see, the addictives here are adding a lot of aggression to it. And the kicks, most of the weight is coming from my Bootstraps kick, which is a kick that I made when recording the band Bootstraps. You can hear it here. The kind of work I'm doing on it is I'm using time adjuster, which I like to do. I use the time adjuster to drag the kicks in phase with each other, depending on how they're printed. You've seen me do it on quite a few other ones. This is the kick out, for instance, here, which is the live one. And there's a time adjuster on that, so that all of the kicks are perfectly in phase of each other. So here's the kick in here, and that is dragged back in phase with the kick out here. So you'll see that is the time adjuster here. It's giving us just enough samples to drag back in phase. So the polarity is good, and the same thing's happening again on all of these kicks here. So they're all in phase. They're all slightly different amounts, but it's basically you want to match these waveforms, sonically match these waveforms. And as somebody commented on before, the thing about time adjuster that's good is you can sit there, let's just say, and take your kick. Let's loop it for a second. take a couple of bars, make sure we're on loop play, yeah. It's subtle, but with it off, it's thin. Adds a little tiny bit more weight. Add this one. Add the bootstraps. Little hollow sounding. Bottom end comes back tighter. And the thing about it is you can adjust this in real time so much easier. When you're moving your waveforms, what you'll find will happen is, yeah, you might make it look close enough, but it might not sound as good. And the thing about this is you can adjust the delay as you go. You know, we can sit there and adjust these to the way we want them to be. So that's the great thing about using Time Adjuster as opposed to moving the tracks. And of course, you know, if you move the tracks, you might have moved it 57 times and you don't know which undo goes back to the original. You can of course playlist it, but it's nice to use the Time Adjuster. It works wonders for me. So that's all the kicks together. Okay, great. And the same thing was done with the snare top. Okay, so let's listen to the top of the track. Cool. So now with the bass, I'm doing my triple trick here. Really, really compressing those lows on my DI. I'm using a time adjuster to get it in time. Polarity, great. The phase, great on the DI with the amp. And I'm adding some drive from a Sans amp here. As you can see, the bass player is pretty tight. So there's the combined sound. You've got the DI with the Sans amp. If we can just solo the Sans amp for you. It's really messed up and horrible and dirty, but it's great together. You can hear the thump and the low frequencies that are coming back. The amp gives it just a little bit more personality. Now for the guitar sound, we did something, it's relatively straightforward. It's this amp is a Soldano, which is Roni's, they actually made one specifically for us. So it's a Soldano amp. Let's go to waveform here. There's not a lot going on. And it's the sound we recorded. There's the Echo Boy panned opposite. And then the same thing with my reverb, panned opposite as well. Just a deverb with a 750 decay. So it's really straightforward, and most of the song in the verses is just one guitar. I added an acoustic guitar myself in the chorus here. So that's my acoustic. And that guitar there is a Pro Junior and a Telecaster, just to kind of go full stones. With a Carl Martin delay pedal on it, just adding some slap. And then Roni's other guitar carries through. tambourine in the chorus. And the only other thing I added is I played some organ on it here. Just chords and some piano. The piano's really dumb. I'm not a great piano player, so this is my piano part. Just doubling up what I played on acoustic. And I just wanted to be as Stones and as dumb as possible. Cool. Lead vocal, I'm pushing the volumes in, if we go to actual volume here. And you can do this with clip gain, which is very common these days. I've just been using volume, but as you can see, I'm pushing it so it's evenly going into my compression. I'm using all my usual compression chain. I'm also doing the same thing with, there's an Echoplex tape, then there's the vocal thickening trick below. Then I'm printing a delay and a reverb, and I'm doing all my usual tricks where I have the vocals, reverbs and delays down, then pushing them up in the choruses. The only real major stuff is I did this kind of Rolling Stones outro background vocals. Let's have a listen. Now this is Laurie, Beebe and Roni together. Laurie Beebe was in the Mamas and Papas. She was also the singer in the Buckinghams, which is Lindsey Buckingham's band. So we stacked those two together. They're singing the same part. There's no harmony. It's just a group of the girls singing together. Some verb here. Real tape delay from Avid. Some ad-lib vocals going on here. And Roni's playing some lead. This riff is repetitive like crazy, so I just took a section and looped it. It was a crazy groove. These drums aren't heavily edited. This is how it's played. The total live performance, as you can see, it's not sitting on the grid. It's just Kenny Enoff playing the way he plays. It's really exciting. Craziness. That's the whole outro there, as you can see. It's all on that riff that I wrote. I'm a huge Jeff Beck fan, so I sort of was thinking like Rough and Ready was the period I was going for on this. It's up to Roni's solo and check it out.
It hasn't been easy, I know.
Great solo, no edit, just one take that we liked, and then we just dropped in a last note from a different one. it's really, the lesson on this song is very, very straightforward, is like to keep it really simple. The only additional stuff that I did was the Roni extra leads here, which has a Carl Martin phase pedal on it, 2 phase. Just to kind of give it that Van Halen-y, you know, early Van Halen 1 and 2 when he was using a phaser pedal. It's a pretty long outro. So we'll just go down the song quickly. We've got intro here. Vocal comes in.
Love one another, help one another. Don't you think you know by now? If I do what I please, would it all fall to pieces? All this time we still don't know how.
Pre-chorus.
So put it all together. Is it
Chorus comes in, additional electric and additional acoustic. Hammond, piano doubling up my guitar part. Re-intro back to the riff. Single whole notes here, whole chords, sorry. Adding a shaker, the tempo's kept going on this. Piano just followed the chords there. Same piano part as chorus 1. Roni's solo coming in. We break down to just piano, bass and piano. Roni's guitar comes back in here. Drums. Tremolo pedal on. Pre-chorus. And then the outro, backgrounds come in. Over the intro and re-intro riff. Roni also has a Jeff Beck fan. But she understood where I was coming from when I wanted this song to be like something off Rough and Ready. Very 70s, we could have gone out on a fade. There you go. So very straightforward. It employs all of the tricks I normally do. So for me, the most important thing about that particular song was to just illustrate the drum sound. Even though we were in Sunset Sound and we had one of the best drum sounds in the world, the artist wanted it to sound a little bit more slamming, you know, and wanted to hear more of a aggressive kick and snare than maybe we were recording. You know, it's kind of a catch-22. We're living in this world where if you go back to Rough and Ready, I love the drum sounds on that. They're obviously a lot tighter and smaller rooms because it was the 70s. And if you want to go full Zeppelin, which I love many, many times, the thing is when you do that, you'll get yourself in a situation where it's great if there's like one guitar, one electric, and it doesn't have a huge, fat, distorted sound. You just got to learn to adapt. I think there's no one way to do it. If I'd recorded the drums with 3 mics and done a more narrower sounding guitar sound, maybe with just a Pro Junior or a fuzz tone just through the console, I think we could have had a completely different ambient sound. In this instance, you know, we went with adding some of those samples, which I wouldn't have traditionally have done on that, to fulfill a different sound for the artist. It's important to be adaptable and do what is important to the song. And sometimes it's, you know, changing your production ideas slightly as you go. The great thing about having a DAW is we can do these things. To me, because I produced, engineered, and mixed the song, I get to do that myself and follow the vision all the way through. And most of us, that's the situation. You're going to be sitting there with your own, you know, recording your own songs and engineering them and mixing them, producing them, doing the whole thing. Now, if I gave this to a mixer, I would still want to give it to him in this condition. I'd want it with the drum sounds the way I had the vision. Now, obviously, some mixers like Crystal Algae and stuff, you know, when he's mixed my stuff, he may change those samples out for something that he thinks is more appropriate. But it's important to give, if you're giving stuff to a mixer, to have a very clear vision. Don't let them fix it for you. You know, give them something that has a palette, and then they'll make more of it. You know, a lot of mixers complain these days that they're getting 192 tracks of aimless doodling and noodling that doesn't have a focus, which is fine, but you're really asking your mixer to produce your song for you there. Try and make decisions as you go as much as possible. And this is a good lesson for me because, you know, I went to a drum sound and committed to it. And I, as the artist was hearing it, she loved it at the time, but then was like, no, I want this to be a more aggressive kick and snare than a 70s open sounding. So we sort of combined a 70s drum sound with a more modern approach and blended the two together. And this is where we ended up. So please, as ever, leave loads of questions and comments. You know, give me your particular experiences doing the same kind of thing. Sometimes you commit to a drum sound and then you have to change it later. You know, give me your experiences. I'd love to hear what you know you've done. As you know, with the Robert John the Wreck song, when I produced and engineered and mixed that, I didn't do any drum samples whatsoever to that. That's completely as it's live off the floor. So, you know, there's different ways and different approaches. And then when I'm in my small room here, if I want to get a bigger drum sound, I'm forced to put kick and snare samples on that just to make it bigger. But then if I want a small kind of tight 70s sound, my room's perfect for that. It's really just about having all these different tools at your disposal so you can make a different drum sound or produce tracks in different ways no matter where you are and how you do it. That's the wonderful thing about having DAWs, is we can really get creative and change things drastically. So please leave your comments and questions below, and thank you ever so much for watching.